Alright, so as you may or may not remember if you watched a video that we released a while back, I think we only posted it to Facebook. We've been working on some of the player navigation controls for Diverse, and I thought I'd give you a little glance at all. Now all this, nothing you see here is final art or design work. It's all preliminary assets and animation and everything that essentially just comes with the editor, and it's for no other purpose other than letting us kind of block things out. Which is why, you know, at the moment when we're strafing, he doesn't pivot or turn. It's just playing the general running animation, and that will be changed when it's actually integrated. And actually, because I don't want to have that little clacking keyboard sound, I'm going to switch over to the Xbox One controller and navigate from there. Alright, so we have a few different systems in place at the moment. First of all, obviously, is your general movement. We decided to go with a strafing ability because we felt the nature of the combat we'll be going for may work a little better if strafing is done rather than the character consistently turning. We also have, of course, jumping and a double jump. Now, the double jump will actually be assisted via a jetpack. So you'll jump and you'll hit it again, your jetpack will fire, and that'll be what boosts you up in the air. But the mechanics are already in place for that jetpack. But as well as that, we have also integrated a system for a boost jump. Basically what that is you'll start off, we'll use this wall as a reference. So a double jump can get you about to the top of the wall, just high enough you could stand on it. Well, a boost jump, you crouch, and you hold jump for about a second, and you hold... It's still really, really preliminary and really, really finicky. But you hold jump for about a second, and when you release, it pops you up in the air. Now, here we go. Let me get this again. Recharge and jump. There we go. So what the boost jump does, when it, it needs some fine tuning, but what it does, you release crouch and jump. I'm sorry. You just have to release jump, but you have to hold it down long enough. I think the delay right now is way too long for the amount of charging you have to do, because I think right now it's a good 2 seconds or so. But once it's charged, the boost jump itself actually makes you just as high as the double jump. And I mean, at first you may think, well, what's the point of that? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but after I performed that boost jump, I was able to double jump again and get even more height. And that's an advantage because you can then travel yourself even further, because you can crouch and move while you're charging. You could then boost jump forward and still get another jump out of there and get more distance than you might with just a regular jump. Alright, and the other thing we've been working on is the melee system. Now, right now there's no damage or health integrated into any of it, but what it does do, odds are it'll be a general punch, but then you'll also be able to charge up the punch, and that hasn't been integrated yet, but you'll be able to charge up the punch and sort of lunge forward. But what it does do, at least as of right now, and of course I could bump into this all day long and move it around that way, but it interacts with physics objects, such as this ball, which is currently simulating physics and trying to get away from me at the moment. So you have the ability to interact with your environment that way as well. Now you'll notice that unlike in the last video, the character isn't grabbing onto ledges when he gets close to them, and part of that's because the current system we have in place for ledge climbing and ledge grabbing, the shimming and whatnot, is very finicky, and we aren't happy with it right now, so we've disabled it for the time being. Which leads me into part 2 of what I'm demoing today, which is one of our prototyping systems I'm working on. Now, at the moment, it doesn't contain any of the actual climbing mechanics, i.e. the ability to actually climb up the wall. But what it does is it allows us to prototype. Since we're dealing with climbing puzzles, we want to be able to prototype our climbing systems quickly and effectively. So you don't want to have to rely on the final art assets being in place. And rather than just making any old object climbable, we want to have some control over what the player can climb on. So what I've done is, through the power of blueprints, which are absolutely fantastic, I have created a procedural wall generation. Basically what you do here, this red ledge here, and you'll notice when I change a modifier here, that it is significantly smaller as well as different in color than a main ledge. It will indicate that the player is not going to be able to climb on there. Another visual indication of that is that there is no arrow pointing that a climbing path is available. What will happen is when you check this little modifier, well, now we have a climbing ledge, a climbing path that is available to the player. And from there, you'll select, there's an endpoint widget, which I need to still make a little more visible. When you drag this widget out, and we need to adjust the direction of it still a little bit, the game or the system will automatically, through the blueprint, procedurally create the wall at any angle you choose. Takes a little. It still needs some fine tuning, so it's a little finicky to actually turn it and such. And you wouldn't want to. It would appear I've got some garbage text floating around inside my widget that I'll have to go take care of. But you've got the overall system. So then you could just rapidly come in here and disable your ledges or enable your ledges at will, and the presence of that ledge would determine whether or not a player can in fact climb on said ledge. And so then you'd be able to just come in here, pull out another ledge. Oop, got an autosave going on. Put it in place. I need to create some better snapping tools. And you could just add your next piece of ledge to your system. And whoop, hang on, I'm grabbing only one orientation there, so that's part of the reason that's being such a difficult. Like I said, there's still some fine-tuning to be done here, because the issue you're currently witnessing is that I've only designed it to create while oriented in one single direction. Now, and unfortunately, you cannot orient the object just yet. The idea will be, though, to eventually create this system a little further along, where the developer can come in here and create further walls by dragging up. They'll automatically on the fly create the height, as well as allowing paths and whatnot to, once there's actually a system in place that determining that you can climb on said wall, that the paths will correctly indicate where you can climb and where you cannot. Also, making some modifications to the endpoint creation, so we have a little more accurate indication of where your wall is going to go. But that is all still in the works, but will make development much faster in the time ahead of us.